Hello and welcome to our final video of Spooky Tuesdays. Friends, we have some special guests today. I am so excited. We have Mandy, one of our awesome park specialists here today, and we have Patrick the possum. He is our special guest today, friends, because we are talking about possums. Now, they are an awesome candidate for Spooky Tuesdays because they are very misunderstood. And they have a really incredible role in our ecosystem. So we're going to talk a little bit about Patrick, him specifically, and the rest of his awesome opossum species. So let's get started. So Mandy, let's talk a little bit about Patrick. Now, is Patrick your pet?
So Patrick is not a pet. I have worked with Keepers of the Wild and done some rehabbing with some possums. I took the training and learned how to take care of babies and learn what they eat and learned how to take care of lappers. And Patrick came to me as a lapper, which a lapper is a possum that can actually eat on its own. You don't have to tube feed it. It's already lapping milk and drinking on its own, and you can feed it solids. And he was getting picked on by his other litter, not so much litter mates, but his other mates that he was with when he was being rehabbed. So I took him and put him with some of my younger babies, and he wasn't getting picked on. So, but we think that he could be blind, maybe not fully blind, but not, he doesn't see well enough to be released. And also he's so tame right now that he wouldn't survive in the wild.
So with keepers, normally they would rehab, in your case, baby possums, and then the hope is to release them out into the wild.
Right.
And they can live as wild possums. But with Patrick, unfortunately, he's not able to see as well. So now he stays with you.
That's right.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about what possums eat. Now, Mandy, possums are omnivores, right?
They are.
So what are some of Patrick's favorite foods?
Well, he loves cheese, mozzarella cheese, and grapes. He also loves yogurt. Those are his three favorite things. Nice. Oh, and applesauce. I forgot about applesauce. He loves applesauce and apples on occasion. It just depends on his mood. He does eat kale. He does eat carrots. Of course, I have to sneak it in and put some cheese over it. He will eat scrambled eggs. So they need a diet high in calcium because they are prone to metabolic bone disease.
Okay.
And they also need proteins. A little bit of phosphorus too, which he gets a little bit of that in carrots, but not much. Not a whole lot. Mostly calcium.
Gotcha. And remember, friends, that omnivores means that type of animal eats both plants and meat. So remember, herbivores can eat only plants, so their veggies and their fruits, and a carnivore is going to eat only meat. So possums are omnivores, which means they eat everything. And that's kind of beneficial, right? So in the wild, possums are what we call opportunistic, right? So that means that they can eat literally anything. And that's a really good adaptation because that means they can always find food. That's also part of why they are so successful in urban areas because they can literally eat anything Mandy just talked about. Okay, guys, so let's talk about some adaptations that are unique to possums. So remember, an adaptation is something about a plant or animal's body that helps them be successful in their habitat. Usually this is a characteristic or a structure on their body, right? And the possum is no exception. So first thing I think about when I think of possums and raccoons is their little paws, right? Now this is a little silicone mold that we use for our tracks classes here at the park. But you can see that they almost look like little hands, right? And this is really beneficial for little scavengers when they're kind of rooting around looking for things that they handle their food. So they have little hands. Now what's cool about possums though is that this is their front paw, and their hind paws, they actually have a little thumb that sticks out at a 90-degree angle, just like ours do, okay? So this is a way you can identify tracks too, is because this is a possum track. This is their front paw, and this is their back paw. Now, again, that thumb is at that 90-degree angle, and that's the only digit that doesn't have a claw, which is really cool. They also have what we call a pacing gait, and that is the way that they walk, right? And that's really similar to bears and raccoons and beavers. And what that means is that those animals, they have left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right. So that's how you're going to see their tracks too. You're going to see their right, right, their front right, and their back right, and their front left and their back left. So that's a possum track, which is really cool. And friends, so that's their paws and kind of talking about their tracks. Let's talk about their teeth for a second. Now, I actually have a possum skeleton. Now, unfortunately, this guy went the way of a lot of possums, right? So he actually got hit by a car right in front of my house. And I was kind of able to salvage the skeleton and the skull for education. So this is a perfect example. Now, their skeletons are actually, their skulls are actually very small. And what's crazy is that possums have one of the smallest brain to body ratios. So they actually have a very, very tiny brain, which is remarkable because they're actually very smart and, as we've talked about, really well adapted to their environment. But what's really cool about this, so this is that bottom jaw, is that possums have a load of teeth for mammals. So opossums actually have 50 teeth, and that is more than any other land mammal in North America, which is really cool. And beyond that, you know those, let me see if I can show you guys. So the pokey ones, right, the really sharp ones that are used for like cutting, those are called incisors. We have them too, but most mammals have around 6 incisors, upper incisors. An opossum has 10 upper incisors. So he has a lot of teeth, and this really helps him, right, with all of his different food items because they eat everything. So really good for tearing, like they eat a lot of other small animals, really good for scavenging. So their teeth is a really cool feature that a lot of other mammals don't have. So very, very cool. Got to show you guys my possum skull, which is awesome. So those are a few adaptations, and we're going to move on to something else cool about possums.
Now, I think the coolest thing about possums is their tail. So tell us a little bit about his tail, Mandy.
So his tail is a prehensile tail, and you notice that it's grabbing onto my thumb as I'm picking up.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is for stability. They will like use it to climb and things like that, but it's the coolest thing about him because it looks hairless, but it really isn't. There's little fuzzies on it if you can see really up close, but a lot of people are freaked out by the tail because it looks so strange. But I think it's the coolest.
I think it's really cool because of its abilities. I think probably it being a naked tail, maybe it makes people think of rodents or rats, but he's not related to rodents, is he?
He is not. He is definitely a marsupial. A lot of people automatically think it's a rodent because of the tail. And
Got it.
It does look a lot like a rat's tail, but he is definitely not.
But it has way more function than a rat's tail.
It does.
Absolutely. It does. So, and can possums hang upside down, or is that a myth?
That is also a myth. They cannot hang upside down. It will actually hurt them if they do.
So really that tail is like an extra arm for climbing.
It is.
Got
It's
it.
an extra arm.
Awesome. That's my favorite part, I think.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about possum defenses. So Mandy, walk us through the defenses that a possum have if he gets frightened or disturbed.
So they really have very little defenses, but they do this weird thing where they play dead. They just kind of, when they get really scared, they play dead. They just lay down and it looks like they're going to sleep, and that's just their defense. Sometimes they will hiss at you. Like I've been hissed at by Patrick. Patrick is a very, very nice possum. But sometimes if you startle him, like wake him up too abruptly, he'll open his mouth really wide and hiss at you. That's probably like their easiest reaction to anything.
So it's kind of their first line of defense is hiss or kind of show their teeth.
Yeah, it looks like they're screaming at you, but silently with their mouth open. But yeah, so other than that, they really don't have any other defenses, and which is why they fall victim to prey a lot.
Mm-hmm. So when they play dead, it's a whole body reaction, right? So you said we talked about their heart rate slows down, their breathing. What do their bodies look like? Like go limp?
They just look limp. They look like they're dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do we think that works, I guess, for some prey?
I think it does work for some. It would probably work for, if say if someone were to try to grab them,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they just play dead, no one's going to mess with something dead usually.
Right.
Normal people.
And I guess, too, like predator animals that are interested in live prey aren't interested in something that's dead. So like a vulture who's a carrion eater,
Yeah.
that would be a different story.
Absolutely.
So, but don't have a lot of natural defenses. And they're not dangerous to humans, right? They
Right.
don't bite, they don't cause any problems.
Right.
Okay, so the best part about Spooky Tuesdays is we talk about the benefits that these animals bring to their ecosystem. And possums especially have so many cool benefits. So Mandy, why don't you tell us a couple and then I'll throw some in.
So they eat a lot of ticks, and ticks, you know, as you know, they spread Lyme disease. So they counteracts the spread of Lyme disease with all the ticks that they eat. They also, you know, help with rodent control and bug control because they, you know, they eat bugs and they eat rodents.
That's awesome.
And also, they're good for seed dispersal because they eat fruits as well. And then, what are some of the ones that you had?
They they eat so many different kinds of animals, like you were talking about. Possums are actually resistant to snake venom, so they also can help control venomous snake populations, which is amazing. I know that's probably a plus for a lot of people. So yeah, seed dispersal, Lyme disease. I mean, there's so many things. I had so many written down. Oh, they also help with gardens because they eat a lot of snails and slugs. So if you see a possum hanging around your garden, that's a great thing. He's actually keeping those pests down for you. So even though we don't love them in our trash sometimes, really if you can respect those scavenging habits for what they are, which is a highly adaptive animal that has learned to live with humans, and really learn more about their benefits, you can really appreciate them more. So he's actually, I'm going to show you guys, he's made a little burrow and he's taking a little nap. So even though possums can be kind of creepy or spooky, and their scavenging nighttime mouth-bearing habits kind of throw us off sometimes, they're really, really beneficial and amazing animals. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us for our last week of Spooky Tuesdays. We've had such a good time. Mandy, thank you so much for bringing Patrick the possum.
Oh, you're welcome.
And for being on Spooky Tuesdays with us. This has been wonderful. We hope you've learned something fun and interesting today, and we hope that you've learned a little bit about how awesome possums are. Awesome possum. So have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Bye.